have somebody in St. Vincent and the Grenadines who after the next general election will be the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Without a doubt, will be the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And what a day of rejoicing that will be. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. And welcome to address us tonight. Welcome to address us tonight. The Honorable Arnhim Eustace, the next Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. South Leeward, good night. I'm happy to be here as usual. And nature, you did well. You did very well. Tonight, I find myself addressing an issue that's been bothering me, particularly in the last week. As you know, I presented a list of persons to the supervisor of elections who have been transferred into my constituency and they don't live there. And I know that the other names and I know other constituencies have the same thing. What I'm surprised about is the attitude of the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines to this matter. He has gone along a road which suggests that even that which is illegal, his DPP will give me trouble. His DPP, we're talking about the law, you know. His DPP will give me trouble. He's gone further, and I understand yesterday or the before yesterday, he's taken out a bet. My house against his, that the DPP will deal with me and we'll never get anywhere with our petitions. So here we have a Prime Minister who is Minister of Legal Affairs, and he is encouraging illegality. I have therefore changed part of our manifesto to bring forward the need for mental asylum a bit earlier. We had said that we want to work on a state-of-the-art hospital. But I have to give some priority to a special mental asylum. So we're going to change our manifesto to reflect that. I never hear more shoppiness than I'm hearing the last few days, and I'm hearing from the Prime Minister of Mr. Grandin. He has lost his way. He has lost his mind, and it's time for him to go. And then something happened again yesterday. Something happened again yesterday, which suggests the need for real special facilities. I put a question to the Parliament asking about some money that is owing, and I'm talking about millions of dollars, being owed by two people at the time that the NCB was closed. That had to be the chairman of the bank at that time, Mr. Morgan, the husband of the Attorney General, Mr. Brown, who was the director of the bank, and between them they owed something like $6 million. I'm not talking about hundreds or thousands. I'm talking about millions of dollars by two individuals. And I'm simply asking a question. What's the status of that money now? Since NCB is no longer ours, there is no NCB anyway. There's Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in which we have some shares. What has happened to those loans that those two gentlemen and other members of the board owed at the time when the NCB was sold? What has happened to them? Did the new bank, the new owners of the bank buy them? Or was it taken off the balance sheet of the National Commercial Bank at the time it was sold? There was the talk of setting up a special facility to deal with those kind of loans. I simply want to find out, have these loans been paid? Have they been forgiven? What has happened to them? We're talking about $6 million. You have people at building loan now whose properties are being sold and put up for sale for less money than that, far less money than that, and their properties are being sold. I want to know what happened to that $6 million. I want to know the status of that. Building a loan, you know, you're going to be selling hundreds of people's properties. Not 10. That's in addition to that. Why should other people owe very large sums of money and you can't find out what is happening? So the Speaker has sent a message to me yesterday to tell me that he take the question off the order paper. I can't ask the question in Parliament anymore. That's what the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and he's not giving any reason either. I want to know the reason why that $6 million or so, where it is, what amount it is now, what has been paid, what is still owing. And I'm not going to let them get off of that. They can block it in Parliament, they can do it. That is something we may have to take the road on because of the seriousness of this kind of situation. That's why I say we have to straighten out mental asylum, you know. Because some of this shoppiness that I'm hearing now is real nonsense. And people must be brought to justice. Man going to jail for 2 tomatoes and somebody owing $6 million and you can't get an answer. We can't have that. We can't have that at all. And I want to know if there are other members of the board of the bank at that time and what has happened to their loans. Because I know some other people who are still paying, whose loans have been transferred to the new bank, and they're still paying month after month after month. So what is the problem of telling us about the 6 million? And I believe the problem is that something fishy went on. And therefore, they want no discussion on the matter in Parliament. I really don't understand what our country has come to, you know. There's no justice for the ordinary man in this country. People have been protected who did some of the worst things. And not only protected, some of them are being rewarded for doing wrong. And that is why I have said, and we have agreed in our party, that we're not going to no commission of inquiry for anything. We're going to bring in auditors to check the books, and when we find you wrong, we'll deal with you in the court of law of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am tired of this nonsense. Tired of it. We cannot continue to operate like this. Throughout this Caribbean today, you see what is happening? People are becoming more and more concerned. So you have an election in Antigua, the government gone. You have an election in St. Kitts and Nevis, the government gone. You have an election in Guyana, the government gone. You have an election in Grenada, the government gone. And a few days ago, we had one in Trinidad, and the government gone. So when ours come just now, the government gone! Gone. The new Democratic Party will form the next government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a lot of problems here. And probably the most pressing problem for the people of this country is unemployment. Especially the unemployment of the youth unemployment. For years now, we are hearing that the unemployment rate in St. Vincent is 21%. For years, the same figure year after year, right? 21%. Well, I always ask if that is in US or Guyanese. Because it's plenty more than that. Everybody knows it's plenty more than that. My own estimate of youth employment is that it is in excess of 50%. And therefore, what policies we develop as a party, what programs we implement as a party, must be aimed at reducing employment considerably in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to reduce that unemployment. There's no point training, saying you have education revolution, and then people home for 6 years afterwards can't get a job. And there are people home for 6 years. I have a case I'm dealing with right now of a young lady who got into community college. She's been home for the last 6 years without getting a job. So we are addressing ourselves to the question of unemployment generally and youth unemployment in particular. And therefore, sometimes when we make statements about various sectors of our economy, people don't make the link with the employment. When we say, for instance, that we're going to put in another 1,000 acres of bananas and give the farmers the assurance that they'll get income support and so on to put it in, people are going to get employed from that. We estimate that in that first year, less than a year, that 1,000 acres will produce $21 million in earnings for the banana industry. When that $21 million comes into St. Vincent, that will be spent by farmers, spent in businesses. So businesses are going to benefit. And when businesses benefit, they employ people more than they had before. And the money, therefore, will circulate in our country. If there are any taxes, the government will get some revenue from it. And that is just agriculture. And you can multiply that to 2,000 acres, to 3,000 acres. Then you go to tourism. The government, tourism is just dying in St. Vincent and Grenadines. Nothing is happening. You have, what the fellow name? Beach, who belongs to the Tourism Authority? Glen Beach, Mr. Beach's son. He's the one who said, he didn't need to so hard to negotiate with the airlines to come here. He never realized that. Where he born? Anybody who has a job like that, head of the Tourism Authority, and he don't know nothing or being able to negotiate with the airlines for them to come to Simmons, he just finding out certain things. Have you been in the airport for all these years? Why is he working? My question is, why is he working? Getting $15,000 to $19,000 per month? Why is he working? If he doesn't know that today, why he has responsibility for tourism in St. Vincent? Because his father's rich? No, given the state of tourism in this country, that is another area where if you handle it properly, it can make income for our country. And if it makes more income, there'll be more employment for our youth. So each of those sectors, you can tie them back to the employment. When it comes to construction, construction goes well with an economy that is growing. But when you take our hard-earned money here, and you buy building materials in Jamaica from a Jamaican store to give with elections, $15, $16 million, who benefiting? The Jamaicans, not the businesses in St. Vincent. If you spend $15 million extra in businesses in a short time, plenty more people will be working in stores and so on that sell these things. So you have to tie the employment to these decisions that the government is making. They are time wasters, they are jokers, they don't have any concept of what an economy should be and how it should function. They don't. We see the nonsense that they do every day. You owe a business, and the government owes money to a lot of the businesses. You should spend in those businesses so they could catch themselves. A businessman came to me this week who up to 2 years ago owned 4 stores in Kingstown. Today, he's down to 2. And the staff gone from 210 to 30. I'm not guessing with that, I know another store that had 23 staff. They're now at 0 because the fellow only hires his wife and his child now. He has no outside employees outside his family. And before that, he had 23 other people working in the store. I went in there the other day. He went in half of what he used to rent. So you have to link the decisions of the government. You have to link what you're doing in various sectors of the economy to the question of employment. So you must do everything you can to stimulate those sectors. If you stimulate them by concessions and whatever you do, there will be more jobs, not only for the youth, there will be more jobs for everybody. I want us to grasp this thing very carefully now. When we talk about unemployment, we're serious, We know what we have to do. We have to encourage investment in our country, in all the various sectors, whether it be tourism, whatever it is, encourage people. For instance, we have decided, and our candidates will tell you that, we have decided you have this YES program going on year after year. People work 3-4 months for $400, and then you take them off. If you're trying to bring in business into Simmons to the Grenadines from overseas, one of the things you can offer a businessman, coming from overseas, setting up a big enterprise, let's say we want to employ 500 people. And we feel we're going to get 500 people easily employed in information technology in our first year. One of the concessions you could offer him, because he's free to go to any island, So you have to have something special to attract him to your own island. One of the things we think we can do about that is if he say he wants 500 workers, you can get 500 from the YES program. If you pay them $1,000 a month and 400 in the YES program, I give him that for 6 months. Take the 500 from the YES program, pay them $1,000, we're going to pay the 400 for the 6 months. After that, it's your business. You pay the 1,000, and we hire another 6 people to the YES program. So the incentives that we can offer, there are things we can do with our taxation. There are things we can do with our budget, which allows us, as a government, and notice I say, as a government, not a party, as a government, there are things we can do that will bring jobs to our country. And plenty jobs too, Even the decision we made in relation to the guy phone, that will help with our jobs as they come here as tourists. So there are other things we really can do, but the problem is the government of themselves can't do that because they don't even know that. They can't do it because they're ignorant of how to deal with these kind of issues. And what they're very good at is corruption. Moving money in a way which does not benefit the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So we have to watch them day after day. But I am heartened by the fact that they have long to go. And they will take the reins and will improve the position of all the people in our country, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a social, spiritual, and redemption charter that we talk about all the time. And that was aimed at a lot of our youth for guidance in certain areas of their lives, where the government and the state playing a role in helping to finance some of the activities in that. All these things are important. They're aimed at the young people in particular in our country, at the levels of crime. We're looking to prevent crime, not to deal with it after it's already committed. That's important. But we must be able to prevent some of it by instilling in our young people certain values by which they will live and we'll have less crime. So we are addressing a number of the issues that confront this nation in a different way from the ULP. Completely different way from the ULP. In our party, we have, Lynch put it the best, You say one encyclopedia and 14 copybook. He put it the best. That was the best way to describe it. Well, we have plenty encyclopedia over here. See? We don't have any copybook. So our people can function as soon as they're elected because they have the background. They have the background, technical and otherwise, to deal with the issues that face us. There's no joke about that. And we are not ashamed. If there's an area where we are weak in our own cabinet, we bring in some consultant to teach us. I'm not ashamed of that. We have to learn because we are sworn to manage the affairs of the people of this country. So where we need training, we will get training. We don't have any hang-ups about that. And I listen to some of the comments that people make of various ministers of government and so on. The fact remains is that they don't have the knowledge to handle some of the things that they're faced with. We are better prepared to deal with that academically and otherwise. Much better prepared to deal with it. So, you will help me by electing us so I can improve the mental asylum. Very, very important. There's something else I'm very concerned about. And that has to do with the sector which we call offshore, and the sector where we deal with economic citizenship. And I'm telling you tonight, I ain't making no joke about that. We are committed to a program, but we administer our program in a manner which ensures that the necessary due diligence is done so that no scams come into our program. That's what we'll be doing. Because we are satisfied that many jobs and much income can be created from economic citizenship in various countries. And St. Vincent is no exception to that. So we're not hiding. We tell you up front, we will do that, but we will supervise it properly. That is the key to that kind of operation. And if for those of you who are not very clear on what this means, it means that the income you earn and the taxes that they may pay and then the revenue they bring comes from people outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There's not a tax on people in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And you need to understand that. The income that you earn from economic citizenship will come from outside. There will be no tax on anybody in St. Vincent. Any fees they pay will be paid only of those who come in from outside. And while Ralph running off his mouth that he's not going to do that, he's selling passports too. Why? But we're not selling passports. The people have to invest in St. Vincent and Grenadines, then they can get a passport. That's the big difference. You can't come and buy a passport. You have to come and make an investment of a certain size, $400,000, $500,000, and you can become eligible when you make the investment to get a passport. These are important differences between the Democratic Party and the Unity Labour Party. Very important differences, and I want our people to understand them. Because sometimes people make statements based on false information. And part of that is our fault. Maybe we haven't explained everything sufficiently well. But we'll continue to try to give you the information that is needed for you to make the correct decisions. But we know for sure that we can do much better than Ralph Gonsalves and his team of idiots. We can do much better than they can. This team here can do much better than they ever can. I listened to him talking the other morning about the DPP will deal with me. I said, just imagine, he's a minister of legal affairs, and he is saying what decision the DPP will make. If I was the DPP, I'd resign, because he's telling you can't make no judgment without him. Everything going back home to Papa to make a decision. So what are you doing as DPP? What are you doing as DPP? When the Prime Minister make a statement that the DPP will deal with me. What happened if the DPP has a different decision? And that he feels that some of the people who sign in on the list are wrong. He must follow Ralph or follow his conscience and the law. Which one is he supposed to do? But when he's saying that even before a case is come, it tells you, he's telling the DPP what you have to do. He's instructing him. And that is why I think he needs a stint at the mental asylum. He needs to wake up. Wake up and spell the coffee. And it's not Colombian coffee. It's St. Vincent coffee. These are very serious issues, you know. Very serious issues in our society. Sometimes we make peacock and so on. But this country has declined so much. We can't afford no peacock now. We need a team that is going to govern the affairs of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in such a manner that all the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will become better off. That is what we need. So we're not going to be very tolerate a lot of nonsense. I certainly ain't going to tolerate any nonsense. Nobody robbing the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and get away with it. And I want to find out how the $6 million stand now. And other funds like that. I've already spoken to another government, a friendly government, because they believe we're going to win, to tell them what we want in terms of persons to do our investigation. Technical people who have the knowledge and the experience over many years and over big economies who can go in to a business. If you want them to go in by lotto, they go in by lotto there and check. If you want to go somewhere else, go there and check. But let me tell you something, you know. I want to give you an example, because we tend to forget here very easily. The permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, who is supposed to be the accounting officer for that ministry, he is responsible for the money for the ministry. He set up in the ministry his own company to buy materials for his ministry. You hear what I say? The permanent secretary who is responsible for the accounts of the Ministry of Agriculture set up his own company to buy the things that the ministry need. So they can buy them at whatever price they want. They don't have to look around and get the best price for the ministry and therefore for the taxpayers. And the most disgraceful part of that, the people who normally buy for the ministry, he bring them into his own company too. So here you have a situation. He in charge officially, and in charge of his own company. Now, what do you think happened? I have 70 pages of documents. 70 pages of documents. And let me tell the police, they ain't home by me. Huh? So you can't call me like how you went by doggy. Those well hidden away. They have 70 pages of documents. Yeah. Huh? No. 70 pages. So I started going through some of the purchases. How much they pay for it, and how much they sell it to the ministry for. Because remember when they bring it in, they sell it to the ministry at a profit. And the profit will go to his company, not the government. The profit will go to his company. And there's an item there. I don't know what you call it. The fellas gave me the technical name for it, but I can't remember. But what I remember is that it costs $14.69 US. And what it costs his company to bring it into St. Vincent and the Grenadines. You know how much he sell it to the ministry for? It costs $14.69. See if you can guess how much he sell it to the ministry for. $14.69 US. Guess how much his company sell it to his ministry for? 1,400 EC. You see what I mean? Another thing happened to him. That's right. Nothing happened to him. As a matter of fact, you're a better job now. That is why I tell you, we have to deal with corruption as a major issue in this country of ours. Because it is a major issue, and we have to root it out and wipe it out. Otherwise, we will continue to decline and remain poor and can't get jobs in our country. Because only a few people reaping off the money. We have to deal with those issues. We have to deal with those issues. And this government here will deal, I promise you, we will deal with those issues. You see, when you have a lot of corruption, you know, your country can't grow. Your country can't grow. So one of the ways of dealing with the growth is to get rid of the corruption that is taking place. You know, this government have a deficit now on the budget. When there's a deficit, they have more expenditure than they have money for. So they owe themselves, actually. That is why they can't do many projects. Because they should have had their share of the money to put to the projects, but they can't do that. And that's why the unemployment continues to decline. That's another reason. That is why the hospital can't get enough drugs. That's why they're having trouble fighting to pay debt. And the debt is over $1.4 billion already. You know, so watch it. We are in a desperate state financially in this country, and only the new Democratic Party can take you out of this mess. And that's what we've agreed to do. That is why we appointed our team so long ago now. We knew what we had to do. And we made sure we had the necessary skills to do. The other people who wanted to be candidates, you know, who never saw the light of day. This is the team we settled on, except for one or two individuals, out of 2 years ago. Okay. Give me some water, man. And you ain't speaking much longer. My voice won't leave me. Maybe I studied in the mental asylum too much. So I want to appeal. I want to appeal to you, our people, in all constituencies, to take the question of voting with utmost seriousness, to help us when you know that there are people who are being transferred illegally, because they're being transferred in an effort to try and defeat us. For instance, we know that in the case of East St. George, there was a steady movement to try and erode Linton Lewis. They transferred 48 people from East Kingstown to East St. George. They transferred 68 people from West St. George to East St. George. So 116 people who don't necessarily live in East George, St. George, have gone to East St. George. So these are the things that happen every day now. Linton, how many people transfer into your constituency? Huh? 384 people transferred into his constituency. We don't know how many of them really live in there. 238 transferred into my constituency since February. I know what happened since February. I'm checking that now. I noticed the supervisor of elections has responded in a way to my letter. She said she called in the people whose names I called. Well, I will tell you, I am 100% certain that none of those 6 people live in East Kingstown, but they're registered there. I ain't sent forward them names by accident, you know. We went to city places, they didn't even know we seen them. We went to every place where they live, and none of them live in East Kingstown, not one of them. I don't care what they tell me after this. I know that none of those 6, and they're getting more this week from us. And from other constituencies. It ain't finished that, and I heard some lady calling the radio say it's only 65. She's sleeping or dead. Or we're doing it in batches. In batches. You won't do all one time. We still have some time. So those are the issues that concern us, because that is the way they're trying to steal the election. So we have to be very vigilant, very, very vigilant when we deal with our voters list. And I urge people who live in individual constituencies, who may be our supporters, when they see people coming in there who say they're not registered in their constituency, see if you can find out who they live. None of those. And I use some security to find some of them too. So a lot of avenues are open that you can use to find out where people really live in. You know? We're not going to tolerate it. It happened in 2010 with Affy Jack and the others. It ain't happening this time. Somebody has to pay the price. Somebody has to pay the price. Well, I think I talk long enough, because you have a couple of people to speak. But I want to say to you, in all seriousness before I close, I believe that the New Democratic Party will form the next government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I believe that the people of our country will be much better off under New Democratic Party administration. And I believe that the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines will become one of the best in our region and outside of our region. Because we have the skills that are required, the skills that are necessary to accomplish that. And we believe in the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you very much.